Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Campus Chatter. So glad you could spend part of your day with us. My name is Evan Holmes, and with me is my good friend, Dale Fowler. Dale, how you doing today?
I'm doing great today, Evan, and I know we got some great topics to discuss today, and I'm just excited.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we have a great basketball topics coming from the NCAA and the NBA, and also the women's college basketball. It was a great championship games. I'm ready to discuss them.
We'll be talking about both the men's and women's. Yes. We'll also be talking about the MVP race, and we're going to skip to the Kansas City Royals to end our show. But for right now, you are listening to Campus Chatter, and it starts now. Let's go.
You're listening to Campus Chatter, brought to you by the University of Central Missouri on UCM Radio, The Beat.
All right, here we are with Campus Chatter. My name is Evan Holmes, and Dale Fowler is here as well. And let's jump in to our first topic of the day. Let's talk about the Men's National Basketball Championship, North Carolina and Gonzaga. North Carolina, definitely hats off to them. Congratulations for getting back from that such a difficult defeat last year here at the hands of Villanova. But a couple nights ago, they beat Gonzaga 71-65. What were a couple of the key factors that helped North Carolina win their sixth championship in school history?
Well, the key factors that were a part of that game that helped UNC win North Carolina, I would say the turnovers against Gonzaga. They committed about 14 turnovers. 14 turnovers, and then North Carolina just capitalized on those. Both Joel Berry and Justin Jackson have great games. Joel Berry with 22 points and 16 points, and it just with those guys just doing very, very well. The whole team doing good on the defensive end, just getting blocks, steals, and they're just running down transition, getting those points. But Gonzaga had a great game as well. Like don't get that wrong at all, because at the start of the game they did go into halftime leading, and then they was doing very well. They was 20 of 59 throughout the whole game, 33.9%, and also they was 8 from 19 at the 3-point. So right there they were very effective right there. It was just the toughness of this North Carolina team that was just kept on striving and fighting. And you saw last year they lost to Villanova, and I know that's something that that was just on their backs, and they was just like, yeah, we need to come out and just keep on going and keep on pushing.
Especially the way it ended last year with Chris Jenkins hitting that huge shot. But I'm gonna ask you right now, who was the best player on the floor or in that game? And I'm talking about the best player from either team.
Joel Berry. 22 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals. He was just everywhere on that court that game. He was just from shooting shots to just getting rebounds from the boards, just pushing the offense down the court. That he was just doing whatever he needs to do to win the game, and that's why he's one of these players. Both him and Justin Jackson are going to the NBA.
And I thought you were going to say Kennedy Meeks for a second because he had been so big, especially against Oregon. But I mean, Gonzaga. Let's not take away what they did this year. I mean, they were just terrific all season long. Went 38-2. The championship game was only their second loss of the year, and the first one they lost was in mid-February. But does Gonzaga lose their respect for falling just one game short?
Oh no! They had an excellent season. The season that they just played, that wasn't just easy running or luck. They fought for every game they had to do. And you got to understand, when it came to the championship game, this is number one seeds playing against each other. North Carolina was on the other side of the bracket. Gonzaga was on the other side of the bracket. So they held their own coming throughout, and they made it to the Final Four and then made it to this championship game. So they earned the respect they needed. It's kind of sad that they kind of fell off at the end, losing that game. Yeah. And stuff like that happens. You had teams before who went undefeated throughout the whole season and then coming into the tournament, make it to the championship game and lose. So
like Kentucky.
Yeah. So I don't put that against them. I mean, you got to take it game by game. It's just like in football, any given Sunday, you can be the worst team and beat the best team at that moment. So. Nah, they do not lose any respect at all for that. Not from me.
Well, I mean, especially the way that they played all season long. And by the way, North Carolina, before they beat Gonzaga, they called this season the redemption tour because of the way it ended. Yeah. And believe it or not, I don't know if you saw in the game, but Chris Jenkins, who hit the shot to beat North Carolina at the buzzer last year, he was actually in the stands wearing a North Carolina on a T-shirt. Did you happen to see that?
No, I did not see that at all. But that's respect.
He was there, yeah. But But, I mean, definitely it was absolutely big. And there were a lot of big moments from this tournament, especially a couple of the runs made by South Carolina, Final Four,
Yes.
Xavier, Elite Eight. Who would have thought that those teams are getting a lot far? But a lot of great moments. Congratulations to North Carolina and Gonzaga for their season. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll flip to the women's side of the NCAA bracket. South Carolina and Mississippi State will break down their championship game and highlights from their tournament. We'll be right back on Campus Chatter.
What if television could take us back in time, into the mind of a president?
This is our summer, Mr. Greatness.
And into the soul of a rebel?
I shook up the world!
What if we could know how it feels to shoot for the stars, to witness the terrors of combat, and know the heartache of those left at home? And why can't TV remember the heroes we honored, the music we danced to, the dreams we chased?
The hope still lives, and the dream shall never die.
No one tells our nation's story like PBS. Give to your PBS station and help bring America's story to life, now and for generations to come.
We welcome you back to Campus Chatter. Let's jump now from the men's NCAA tournament to the women's NCAA tournament. North Carolina won for the men. South Carolina won for the women. They defeat underdog Mississippi State by a final score of 67-55. But, I mean, what a terrific season that both teams had. But I want to ask you, why was South Carolina so dominant in the national championship game, winning by double figures the way they did?
Rebounds. I would say that would be probably the number one thing. That's the number one thing I say that throughout that whole game. They led throughout that, like with the rebound margin. It was 40-27. 40-27.
Wow.
And they had about 20 of those, exactly 25 offensive rebounds, which helped them, get extra possessions, toss it out. And then, what was surprising for me throughout this whole game? They had 0 3-points made. 0 3-pointers made in the game. So it was all 2 points, getting inside, layups, easy mid-range jumpers. And it's just the style of play that they was playing with that helped them go throughout the game and win. So congrats to South Carolina. They did what they had to do. And Mississippi State, I do not take anything away from them at all. They beat the number 1 UConn basketball team to get to the national championship.
And I actually got the privilege to actually watch the finish of that. I mean, that was just amazing. All Gino Auriemma could do was chuckle at that. We'll talk about Mississippi State in just a moment. But South Carolina's head coach, Dawn Staley, has actually seen her share of success. I mean, she was a terrific WNBA player, and now she goes from WNBA All-Star to national championship coach. But I want to ask you, Dale, how did Dawn Staley go from great player to great coach?
How she go to great player to great coach? Great question. Simply because she understands the game. She understands how the game is played, how what you have to do in those in certain circumstances. She's been a part of it. She gets her first national championship as a coach, and like you said before, she was a WNBA All-Star. So she know how things go and what you need to do to win. So she know how her players need to play. And when it comes to crunch time, now they got to the point where they got to the championship game, and you had a coach who played at a higher level, so she understands what to do at those moments. So that's what helped them throughout the game. That's why she was a great coach at this moment, because she knows what to do. I mean, you don't want to put anyone in that position who hasn't really had any experience. It's just like when you do commentary, when you have color analysis, you want someone who actually know the game, who can break it down and explain to the fans what happened in this particular play. So just for coach, you don't want to bring anyone in who hasn't had any experience in the professional level.
Well, I mean, this is just absolutely a great story because, I mean, she's been at South Carolina her entire career, and now she gets to share her first national championship, not only for herself and her teammates, but in school history as well. A lot of milestones. But Mississippi State, let's jump to them for a quick second. I mean, you could take away so much from their season. They did not get the respect that they deserved, I think, especially for being a 2 seed in the tournament. But should Mississippi State still get the respect that people did not give them, even though they fell one game short and ended one of the greatest records of all time?
I mean, they should not lose respect at all. I mean, you make it to the championship, you're not going to win every game. It's not made. That's just life. You're gonna go into things. Everything's not gonna work. Everything out how it's supposed to go. But throughout, when you come back next season, you want to come back even harder than what you came before. Okay, you understand you lost now. Now that's something they can carry up throughout the off season and get some improvement so they can go to make it to the next step again, make it back to that national championship. And this time instead of losing, winning. So no, they don't lose any respect. But I would say it'll be disappointing if they do come back the next college basketball season and they do not do well at all. So that would be more disappointing, and that's when their respect will be lost.
Well, I mean, again, you cannot take away what they did this season, especially Morgan Williams. I mean, holy cow, 41 against Baylor in the Elite Eight game-winning jumper to beat UConn in the Final Four. I mean, she's like the Spud Webb of NCAA women's basketball. You know what I mean? Small, but still really talented. And I mean, again, and both tournaments had a lot of great moments, especially not just Morgan Williams' number, but also 12 seed at Quinnipiac getting to the Sweet 16. Yes. I mean, they even earned Gina Auriemma, head coach of UConn, respect. You got to be pretty talented to do that. But I mean, a great run for them, a great run for a lot of teams, and congratulations to South Carolina, your 2017 women's basketball champion. Excuse me. When we return, we will talk about the NBA, and the playoffs are just around the corner. We'll talk about a couple of key matchups there. We'll be right back on Campus Chatter. Do not miss it.
Who says we can't know how a Civil War soldier felt, or what it's like to change the rules of the game? Ken Burns pioneered a new way to tell America's story. And only PBS gives filmmakers like him a place to push the boundaries of what TV can do. Give to this PBS station so stories like these are available now and for generations to come.
From one side of basketball to another, welcome back to Campus Chatter. Evan Holmes and Dale Fowler. And I say from one side of basketball to another because it's time to switch from NCAA to the professional side. Like we mentioned, the playoffs are just around the corner. A lot of excitement going on there. But Dale, in my mind, I mean, there's a lot of matchups that could happen. I mean, there's still a lot left to be decided. But which first-round matchup would probably be the best fan favorite?
Right now, as a playoff standing is set right now, Houston versus OKC.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, you got the both MVP candidates going at it. Russell Westbrook versus James Harden. It's going to be a lot of triple doubles going throughout that series, and I'm excited for that one. Russell Westbrook just been playing lights out this season, and James Harden as well, just coming with a lot of fire within itself. You know what we've been discussing Russell Westbrook about every segment we did this Campus Chatter, and with this going on, we was talking about the KD and his their problems, but he's not worried about that. They're the 6th seed at this moment. I mean, I feel like that's better for him because now all eyes is on you. You want this. The team is yours. The team is yours. You're the captain. You're the one who's leading this team. You're averaging a triple-double this season. And if he finishes out the season, he don't even have to really average 8 rebounds or 7 assists a game for the rest of the season. I mean, because the way he's been playing, it's only 5 games left. It looks like it'll be done. He'll be one of the first players to average a triple-double the whole season. And he just tied Oscar Robertson for 41 triple-doubles. And he has a chance to break that record. So that will be an exciting matchup to look for. And Harden, just like we were saying before, Harden just doing well, averaging 29.2 points a game, 11.2 assists a game. He doing what he has to do to lead that Rockets team. And also they had a new addition with Lou Williams, who coming off the bench playing well. It's going to be an exciting series.
Well, especially the fact that Russell Westbrook has definitely had his share of darkness, but also light this season with the departure of KD and now rising up as his own in OKC. But, I mean, a lot of seeds in the East are still up for grabs, but in the West, only one spot is left. The Memphis Grizzlies clinch the playoff spot. Just earlier this week, but right now I think New Orleans was eliminated last night. Only 2 teams remain in that final 8th spot, the Portland Trail Blazers and the Denver Nuggets. Who clinches the 8th seed?
Portland.
Portland
Easy. I feel like Portland does it. They do it every time each year. They always come in strong at the last part of the season, then they get in. And it's like every time I see they always play my favorite team, the Golden State Warriors. I'll be like, okay, it should be a pretty easy series. Probably beat them 4-1. 4-0, who knows? Next thing you know, C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard is just averaging about 28 points a game in that whole series, taking it to Game 7. So I feel like Portland, they deserve the spot. C.J. McCollum been playing lights out with Damian Lillard out some games because he been kind of injury prone this season. And so he just been stepping up playing his role. And at first, me and my friends, we always used to discuss what would this team would have been like if Brandon Roy was still here and not, was hurt and then ended his career.
Yeah.
Because then I feel like Portland would have been way above. Like, they would have probably been up there with Golden State and some other teams because he was a phenomenal player. But C.J. McCollum stepping in, after that, they had a few years trying to look for that shooting guard, and then they coming with Damian Lillard at point guard. I feel like this team deserves that AC. Denver had no credit taken away from Denver. Denver has been playing, exceptionally well with them, really being down these past years and actually trying to fight for that AC. I mean, it should be an interesting last part of this season, but I feel, that Portland will take this AC.
Well, let me ask you something more difficult because that one answer you just said, Portland. So I want to ask you real quickly, and I just want a small answer. Which team has the best chance for a first-round upset? I say Oklahoma City or Washington. You say?
I'm gonna go with. That's a nice one. For on the Eastern Conference side, I would say the Raptors.
Raptors?
I would say the Raptors. They've been slept on, especially with the new addition of Serge Ibaka in the paint with Valanciunas. I feel like that's going to add a great addition to them. Also, Serge Ibaka can get out to the 3-point line and also make a three. So I feel like on that side, yes, the Raptors will be the upset team. And then for the West side, OKC, I was just talking about how Russell Westbrook just been playing lights out this season. They've been people been like lowering them ever since KD left. People feel like at first they were not even going to make it, and now they locked down a 6th seed. Well, locked down a playoff berth, probably can potentially move up further. But I see them upsetting a team later on in the playoffs. I feel like they should beat Houston. And it looks like from there, OKC might have a chance.
We'll find out very soon because the playoffs are just around the corner. We'll stay on topic with the NBA and discuss the MVP race when we come back to Campus Chatter.
What if television could sweep us away to another time and place?
Very nice, my lady.
Why can't our favorite characters step off the page?
That's the Jane I want to marry.
Who says TV can't be as brilliant as Holmes?
Shut up!
Or as bold as Macbeth?
Thou shalt be king.
And what if television could take us from the Gilded Age to the Great War?
Hold the line!
From the heat of the chase to the heart of a queen. No one tells stories like PBS. Tales as timeless as the classics that inspired them.
Please, sir.
Give to your PBS station and help bring stories like these to life, now and for generations to come.
Welcome back to our session of NBA Talk here on Campus Chatter. Dale Fowler, Evan Holmes here, and let's stick with the NBA MVP race, which, as we know, we had talked about the last time we did Campus Chatter together. And, of course, the key factors are James Harden and Russell Westbrook. But I want to ask you, Dale, are there any other important candidates besides those two?
Isaiah Thomas for the Celtics. He's been playing very well this season, averaging 29 points a game for the Celtics, doing very well. He's been giving them that drive for that team. It's like he brought back life to that Boston Celtics squad that we used to see back in the day, going against Kobe in back-to-back series when it was Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett. So he's bringing back life to that team. Also with great additions like Avery Bradley. You got Marcus Smart coming off the bench playing well. Just a lot of players. And then you have Al Horford, who's down low, who's really been doing good. So Isaiah Thomas, I feel like this been his best year as a pro, and he been playing at that MVP level as well. And also, like we just said, he been bringing back that swag to that Celtics team. And I like the way he played. He's a small guy with a big heart.
Well, I mean, of course, Thomas is also in the running, but let's not forget Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Gordon Hayward is playing and terrific as well. But, I mean, again, Harden and Westbrook are the top candidates as of right now. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I want to ask you now, what makes a player an MVP in your mind?
Hearing from a lot of people always say MVP, like you just said, LeBron James. I'm getting tired of, people saying that because LeBron James, yes, he's a great team player, but the MVP race is what it stands for, most valuable player, not most valuable team player, not most valuable who takes their team to the playoffs player, who is actually putting up points and assists and trying to do for their team. I'm not saying what people always say Westbrook is a ball hog. Well, okay, he averaged 31.6 points per game, but behind that he had 10.4 assists per game, so.
But, I mean, look at his assist total.
10.4 assists per game. and then 10.7 rebounds per game.
I mean, those are just terrific numbers. And, I mean, of course, I got the chance to see last night Russell Westbrook tie Oscar Robertson for the most triple-doubles in a season. I got to see the rebound and then the pass to Taj Gibson for a layup. And Westbrook knew at that point that he had tie Oscar Robertson's record. There were a lot of signs up in the stands, a lot of face signs of Russell Westbrook. My favorite sign I saw was one fan held up a sign that says "In Russ We Trust." I thought that was really cool. But what I want to ask you now, we clearly know how OKC fans feel about Russell Westbrook, but I want to ask you, should the fans be the ones who decide who the NBA MVP is in the distant future?
Well, I feel like they should play a big part in it because they are fans. They do watch the games, and I understand like the committee a part of they want to be fair, and I understand sometimes with people it can be like more biased or but when you think about it, NBA as a whole, I feel like the fans should have a right actually because they see what players do what they do every game. You got people who watch ESPN a lot, Sports Center, things like that. Watch what teams do, the highlights, and who we see on there all the time being discussed. And I mean, the role of media, I feel plays a way into the MVP race as well because we've been seeing a lot about Russell Westbrook. Although with the incident, what's been going on. They've been talking about what points he's been putting up this game, and it feels like they've been filling him up to really do better. And with KD being gone, it's really brought his game to the next level. Scoring, assists, rebounds, defensively, he just played with a lot of energy, and that's why I feel like he should be this MVP candidate. And I feel like he should win the MVP race. He played lights out this season. Although his team wasn't on that same level with him, he's still been bringing a lot of excitement to this team and giving them hope, and that's why they're the number 6 seed because of Russell Westbrook.
Well, I mean, we're going to find out who the MVP is in the not-too-distant future, and I would not be surprised if it's Westbrook or Harden. Both have just been rock solid all season long, and if they do end up in the first round, what a great matchup that would be. Expect that to probably go at least 6 games, if not the distance to 7. Well, I believe that's all the time we're going to talk about the NBA today. And when we return, we will switch to baseball. The Kansas City Royals season began earlier this week, but it was a 7-1 loss to Minnesota. We'll talk about that and their upcoming season when we return to Campus Chat.
What if television could take us back in time? into the mind of a president.
This is our summer, Mr. Greatness.
And into the soul of a rebel.
I shook up the world!
What if we could know how it feels to shoot for the stars, to witness the terrors of combat, and know the heartache of those left at home? And why can't TV remember the heroes we honored, the music we danced to, the dreams we chased?
The hope still lives, and the dream shall never die.
No one tells our nation's story like PBS. Give to your PBS station and help bring America's story to life, now and for generations to come.
Let's talk about our last topic of the day now on Campus Chatter. He's Dale Fowler. I'm Evan Holmes. And our last topic of the day is the Kansas City Royals. Clearly a lot of excitement. The season has begun for them, but the season did not start off the way they wanted to. I mean, Mike Moustakas hit a home run, but after that it was all Minnesota, especially in a 6th-run, 7th inning, because the bullpen gave up 3 base-loaded walks, and Minnesota never looked back. But, Dale, I want to ask you, was the loss on opening day to Minnesota a sign that Kansas City is in trouble already?
No, it's not a sign, because a lot of teams usually, some teams do start off with that, with that loss or whatever, and then sometimes it's, not really doing good that first part of the season. But then as time goes by, they start getting better, and they start knowing their roles, what they need to do for the team, and what they have to do. So as time goes by, that's what should determine if a team is in trouble or not. If I say by the mid-season, if they're still doing the same thing, not even mid-season, about the first 30 games, and they're not doing well at all, that's when I would say that's when you start saying they're in trouble, because that's when, time, a lot of, catching up to being 500 is really a factor, because you always want to stay above so you can have a chance to get into the playoffs. And sometimes with you being like 75 and 76 and 75, you can't make the playoffs still. And, you can't make the playoffs still. So, really, I wouldn't say they're in trouble, but it's things they need to work on. Also, you got to remember they are missing Jorge Soler, Salvador Perez, someone who was a Golden Glove catcher, and then also MVP for their World Series run. So, honestly, I wouldn't say they're in trouble at this moment, but they do need to start finding a rhythm in their game so they can start pushing and going forward, so they can get back those players in the right condition and in the right frame, so everything can go well for them.
One, of course, you would probably suggest that Ned Yost, the manager, would probably address that at some point, but you still have 5 more full months of the season and some change. And because, as we know, one game doesn't make a season, 162 makes a season. But, Minnesota was a team last year that did struggle. But this year, I see them as an uprise. I really do. Because, I think the rebuilding process for MLB teams is not as long as it is in the past. But, do you think the bullpen is the main reason for Kansas City to try and get success this season, because they struggled last season?
I feel.
They struggled the first game.
Well, the bullpen will not be a problem. That's why they, added some added players like Jason Himmel to, come in for their starting pitcher. So they just need to do well and just keep on, just move on with the season and just keep on pushing. That's all they have to do.
All right. Well, wise words from Dale Fowler, and we are about out of time for Campus Chatter today. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. For Evan Holmes and Dale Fowler, thank you for watching Campus Chatter. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Campus Chatter, brought to you by the University of Central Missouri on UCM Radio, The Beat.